The first losses from Captain America 4, the postponement of the new part of Spider-Man, the reorganization of Marvel, and the new Punisher project have given us a lot of hot, provocative, and sometimes scandalous information guides in recent days, which we will be happy to analyze for you in the next couple of minutes. Hello, you're watching The Final Cut. Let's start with the actual one. Captain America Sento Namaki earned just $289 million in his second weekend. The result for a project with a budget of 200 cartoons is rather weak. In terms of total fees, the Capy is inferior even to the failed Quantumania. And in the second week, the film's collections dropped by 68%. The only thing worse is Captain Marvel 2 and the same Quantumania. Despite the positive or negative start, word of mouth has done its job. The audience got acquainted with the project, saw another unremarkable average man from Marvel, and spread their indignation online with calls not to waste time and wait for Avengers 5 with Chris Evans. The Red Hulk did not help the tape either, which, as expected, is only a decoy, and in the film he is given 5 minutes of timing. The famous game designer Hideo Kojima did not pass by the film either, who stated that the picture left him with a bad aftertaste. In particular, due to the fact that Kojima missed when Sam Wilson officially became Captain America, did not see the need to watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and generally confused with the strange status of the Avengers in the cinematic universe. The opinion perfectly embodies the attitude of the mass audience towards the franchise after the finale. During Phase 4 to 5, the studio created too many projects of questionable quality, which blurred the full significance and integrity of what was happening. If in the Infinity Saga it was enough for viewers to watch only 20 films, then here the amount of mandatory content increases 2 to 3 times. We all mean that Avengers 5 can take into account the comments of Kojima and the rest of the internet, and indeed, as the journalists suggest, ignore the 4th and 5th phases by showing a film that gently forgets what is happening with Marvel after the finale. The Russo brothers directors actually confirmed this in an extreme interview. According to Russo, they found a concept that would be understandable to anyone even slightly familiar with Marvel. That is, before watching Doomsday, you will not have to get acquainted with the brown mass of the multiverse saga. And Sweet Russo confirmed that the filming process will begin in April, so do not forget to turn on the bells so as not to miss the first news about the cast and the first photos from the production. After all, we can already say that Chris Pratt is 99% likely to appear in the film, and without waiting for the Secret Wars, right at Doomsday. At the premiere of the movie Electric Staff, Chris was asked about his participation in the Avengers, but out of nowhere, the actor's agent burst in and dragged him away from the reporter. As we remember from the Garfield situation, this denial actually confirms Star-Lord's involvement in the Avengers, and at the same time hints at the insane secrecy surrounding the project. The fines in the contract are apparently so huge that agents accompany the actors around the clock, so that God forbid they don't give you anything. Well, another blow towards the 4th Captain came from nowhere. Deadpool creator Rob Liefeld demanded that Kevin Feige be fired for his failure. The conflict between the comic book author and the studio deserves a separate issue, but in short, it all started a couple of weeks ago, when Liefeld announced the termination of cooperation with Marvel. According to Rob, the last straw for him was the world premiere of Deadpool and Wolverine. Allegedly, the media was forbidden to publish photos with him, he was not invited to a special party, and Kevin Feige did not bother to say hello to Liefeld and thank him for creating the character. According to the author, all this was done specifically to humiliate him, and also to prove once again that Marvel does not appreciate the work of comic book authors. This is not the first time that Liefeld, and not only he, accuses the cinematic universe of ignoring comic book authors. Jim Starlin, the author of Thanos, joked that DC paid him more for the Batman v Superman KGB than Marvel did for Infinity War and Endgame. Well, back in 2021, Liefeld reproached the leadership for spending resources on creating Black Widow, Blackmail, and Eternal instead of focusing on the new Deadpool movie. And a little earlier, Rob had even gone on strike against the transfer of Deadpool under the wing of the cinematic universe, demanding to keep him at Fox. Then it worked out. Marvel, and more specifically Ryan Reynolds, began consulting with Rob about the creation of the third part. A little later, Rob was invited to the set in London. During this period, Liefeld showed minimal toxicity and even stood up for the filmmakers at times, claiming, for example, that he had personally felt Hugh Jackman's biceps, and that something was coming for the fans. There are several references to Liefeld in the film, and there is also a direct mention in the credits. Therefore, what actually happened at the world premiere is a murky situation. But it is obvious that Liefeld will continue to storm the media, expressing dissatisfaction with both his former colleagues and Kevin Feige. And who knows, maybe it will reveal more behind-the-scenes stories. It's funny that Beau DeMayo, the scandalously fired X-Men 97 showrunner, decided to support Rob. According to the screenwriter, the entire top of Marvel Studios has long turned into a bunch of incompetent businessmen who are trying to push their failed ideas while simultaneously getting rid of inconvenient employees. Commenting on the failure with Cap 4, Beau believes that the producers did not believe in the ability of a black superhero to pull out a picture on his own, which is why they tied the storyline of the Incredible Hulk, Celestial, Eternal, and Adamantium to him. In general, it seems that the studio has long since come to terms with the failure of the fourth Cap and is just carefully trying to squeeze out as much money as possible. It will be a miracle if the picture collects at least $400 million, beating the figures of the first part. But it is clear to everyone that Anthony Mackie will no longer receive new solo albums and is unlikely to last long as Captain America. But the saddest thing is that the cool reception of Cap 4 can play a cruel joke with the Thunderbolts. And even if the movie turns out to be good, the bad aftertaste will make ordinary viewers think 100 times to give something new from Marvel a chance. And the situation with Sony's Spider-Universe may repeat itself, when each subsequent project about new characters collected less and less, and a good Kraven eventually remained in the dustbin of history. Speaking of the Spider-Universe, recently it became known that Sony Pictures postponed the fourth part of Spider-Man a week ahead, and now it will be released on July 31st, 2026. The official reason is unknown, but Sony seems to be afraid to compete with Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, which comes out on July 17th. The situation is generally funny because Tom Holland will play the main role there, although the studios are engaged in different projects and accordingly will put sticks in each other's wheels during the promotional tour that coincides in time. Against this background, there were rumors that Marvel and Sony would postpone the fourth Spider for the winter, because during this period, No Way Home earned almost $2 billion at the box office, and there will be significantly more time for revision. There is also a sad moment. Marvel has officially confirmed that they cannot integrate Spider-Man into their series. Everything was clear about the films, and the rights there were concreted for Sony, but TV series have been considered a gray area for many years. After all, Marvel, for example, released an animated series about a medium-quality spider, but without cooperation with Sony. Many have argued that the rights deal does not apply to the series, and Holland can be inserted, for example, into Daredevil bypassing Sony. But the showrunner of the series and producer Marvel explained that this unfortunately is impossible. Under the deal, Marvel has the rights only to short animated series with a series of no more than 30 minutes. Sony has everything else, including even small cameos by Holland. So we don't overestimate expectations from Daredevil. The spider definitely won't be there. Well, let's finish the release with good and bad news. The bad one. The head of Marvel's TV division, Brett Vinderbaum, has confirmed that Moon Knight will not receive a second season. However, the character himself should appear in one of the studio's future projects, and we will see Oscar Isaac again. Most likely either with a tiny role in The Avengers or in the Sons of Midnight crossover, which is currently being developed internally. Well, the good news is that the development of a full-fledged movie about the Punisher has been confirmed. Jorn Bernthal will return to the role of the character, and the project itself will have an adult rating. This happened against the background of the hype surrounding the new season of Daredevil, the first ratings of which are very good. Journalists praise the project for its harsh, gloomy atmosphere, brutal action, and excellent acting. They especially note the brutality that corresponds to the era of Marvel projects from Netflix, and in some places even surpasses it. That is, the same Frank will shred his enemies right and left, and the blood rating is used to the fullest. Well, as for the special issue, as in the case of the Night Werewolf, it will be a 40-minute piece in which the hero performs a task to eliminate some thugs or saves a child. The Punisher performer in the 2004 film Thomas Jane tried to do something similar when he released a brutal short film. In general, the idea is great because special releases are almost the only successful Marvel idea in recent years. That Guardians of the Galaxy and Night Werewolf performed well. They are inexpensive to create, and this is a great option for heroes who are suspended in an intermediate state. It's problematic to shoot a full-fledged series about the same Punisher, since even Netflix is faced with a drop in ratings. But you want to give attention to the character and release a special personal opportunity for this. In short, everything is in the black. That's all we have for today. What do you think about the depressing Captain America 4 training camp? Which side will you choose in the conflict between the creator of Deadpool and Marvel Studios? And are you ready to give a chance to a new series about the Punisher if Daredevil is successful? Share your opinion in the comments and see you soon, friends.